Singapore's music industry has evolved throughout the decades. The music has changed from the rock and roll times in the 60s to today's variety of pop, rock, hip-hop tunes. The industry has experienced some highs and lows, the way music is produced has advanced, and there are more ways music is being brought out to the audience, who are of course the most important people in regards to the success of an artist. Over the years, people's tastes have changed, which could be one of the reasons why there is a decline in the listenership of local music. Some say it should be getting more attention, while others say it's not worth getting any attention. It is clear that some people still do listen to locally made music, but is the attention enough? Is it the people's taste that have caused the industry to shrink? Are there enough artists in the talent pool, or is local music just not getting enough publicity?
Join me, Isabel, as we find out what has caused the Singapore music scene to its current state and what could be done to improve the industry.
But before we find out what people from the industry have to say, let's see what the public has to say about local music.
Do you listen to local music?
A little bit, not very much.
No.
Not much.
No, not really.
Actually, I used to, but now no.
No.
Yeah.
Not really. No.
Not at all.
No.
Yes, I do.
When it's on radio, yes.
A little bit. It depends. Like I hear it on the radio.
90.5, that's all. 90.5 local, radio.
Who do you listen to?
I only listen to more of the Chinese one, like Olivia, JJ, Stephanie Sun. I also listen to Lilac Sin, but they are from the 90s.
I prefer band, like maybe The Sun or Electrical.
Local artists like Olivia. I do listen to music actually, because she's from MediaCorp, and then I listen.
Xinyao. No, what's that? No idea. No, too young.
Was it from the 90s?
Yes, around 90s.
Definitely I listen to them. But there's a group that I forgot the name. It was a pretty long, complicated name, but it's quite some time back already. I think I don't really hear them on the radio.
JJ Lee, yeah.
Corinne, yeah.
Well, I enjoy Dick Lee. I like his arrangements. I like his compositions, and because it's also sometimes he composes the song on the local themes. Kit Chan, Olivia Ong, she just returned. Yeah, but all this, our local scene is. They've gone international, but they've also come home and they've brought their expertise and their experience back to Singapore. And I think that they're sharing their music with us and their experiences.
According to an online survey we conducted, out of 52 responses, 27 of them said they listened to local music and 25 of them didn't. Pop music received the most number of listeners, following rock music and others. Mandopop has a few listeners too. According to Wikipedia, Mandopop is an abbreviation of Mandarin popular music, which is most popular in China, Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan. But wait, not all Singaporean Mandopop artists are based in Singapore, so should their music be considered local? Or any other music from overseas-based Singaporean artists? JJ Lin, Olivia Ong, and Stephanie Sun were all born and raised in Singapore, but their music wasn't produced or originally distributed from our country. But all three acts did contribute to the local music scene by singing patriotic songs for National Day and the Singapore Youth Olympic Games. Singapore did have a local Chinese music scene called Xinyao back in the mid-1980s. It was the golden age of the Chinese pop industry in Singapore, but more on that later. Now let's ask the people why they don't listen to local music.
I don't like the songs. Yeah.
But she prefer One Direction. I'm not sure. I don't think that it attracts me too much for the local music. I prefer to hear the current trend, which is like the K-pop, Taiwan music, J-pop. Yeah, so I don't listen to local music.
You don't know what the music is.
There's like more variety of like overseas, like international music that I prefer.
I don't know. Maybe because they're not famous.
Sometimes I really don't have time to go and listen to all this music. I'm very busy.
Because I don't know there is a local music.
I usually listen to music on YouTube, which is free, and we don't really find local music on YouTube. And I don't listen to the radio either, so I don't know.
Actually, a lot of local music can be found on the internet. Artists nowadays use social networking websites such as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as a platform to get their music across. In fact, our survey results showed that most people listen to local music online, and that the internet stands at a high position in terms of people getting to know such music. Now here's a band that has garnered fans through social media. Trick is a newly formed pop hip-hop group that consists of Macleod and Richard Jensen. They have released a single, BPM, which is a hit on 987 FM, Singapore's #1 radio station, and is currently working on an EP album. I got the chance to interview the talented duo on Radio Heatwave and even got to watch an acoustic performance of their single, BPM. And of course, I wanted to know what their thoughts were about the Singapore music scene and how it is like trying to get their music around as local artists.
Do you think local music is getting enough publicity in Singapore?
I think that certain styles of local music do get publicity, but I don't think it's as proactive as other countries, you know, like they're not as willing to play local music on radio or use local music as compared to other countries. But I mean, they're doing quite a bit, like, you know, they play our songs. We're not complaining because they play our songs, and I do feel that, of course, there's a little bit of like biasness if you do not do anything. If you do anything besides pop, you might not get as much.
Okay.
But that's kind of understandable because they're a pop radio station, so you can't expect them to play something that's not fitting their, you know. Yeah.
Do you have any difficulty in spreading your music around?
There's still difficulty, but it's much easier than if you were to do like Screamo or something like that.
They started playing local songs hourly and stuff, so I think they are making slight improvement.
But only MediaCorp radio stations are doing that. They're actually sticking to, I think, about one local track per hour.
Yeah.
At least. So yeah.
It's improving.
I think so.
And right you are, Trick. According to the Minister of Communications and Information, Associate Professor Dr. Yaacob Ibrahim's recent response to the parliamentary question by Ms. Janice Koh on radio airtime for local music, the Media Development Authority consulted the music industry for a local music quota for radio airplay following the member suggestion. The feedback from the industry, however, was that it lacks a sufficiently strong library of broadcast quality local music at this time, so it advised against imposing such a quota at this stage. But radio stations from all over the island still provide local music adequate exposure via radio airplay. For example, MediaCorp Radio dedicates at least 10% of airtime on the whole to local music. The amount of airplay depends on the database of local works at its respective stations, which ranges from 5% to 30% depending on language: English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. It seemed that most of the people who said yes listened to local music on the radio, and according to the survey we conducted, there was a high percentage of people who heard about these local artists and listened to them on the radio, so I guess the radio does play a big part in the exposure of local music. Since we are in the subject of radio, whom else could I get an opinion from than none other than the Managing Director of Radio in MediaCorp, Ms Florence Lian. With 24 years of professional experience in the media industry, Florence has taken up various roles. She was previously the MediaCorp Senior Vice President of Marketing, Creative Services, News Radio Print, and Senior Vice President of Corporate Communications and Marketing. She was also a TV host for several years and started her broadcasting career in 1989 with Perfect 10 987 FM. She became famous for being a judge on MediaCorp's Singapore Idol TV show for 3 seasons.
And I thought, oh my goodness, boy, does she have talent. In my 17 years of being in the radio business, you have the most unique voice I've heard in a very, very long time.
Hi, Florence.
Hi.
So, do you think local music in Singapore is getting enough publicity?
The issue as to whether local music is getting enough attention is a question of supply and demand. I feel that there isn't enough of a good supply of local musicians. The fact that some clubs are committed to playing or engaging the local artists, I think it's a very, very good start. The Timber Group, for instance, actually has some local musicians who play there every week or every month, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that is very good hunting ground, if you like, for these people to hone their talents. When they get to a certain level, then obviously, you know, they're confident enough to have it recorded, and once they sound good on a recording, then it's deserving of airplay. So really, it's an ecosystem that needs to be fed. We can't jump to getting publicity without having a good supply of local talents.
What are some ways to like get more people to listen to local music? I mean, maybe more airplay?
I think it's one of those chicken and the egg issues. I mean, you've got to make make good music in order for it to be deserving of airplay. I don't think local musicians should get airplay because they've come up with an album. You've got to achieve a certain base standard before you can make it to the national radio. So the way to actually make this interesting and exciting and flush out all the excellent musicians or the burgeoning musicians that we have is to actually provide, let's say, competitions by which they can improve themselves, identify themselves, come out into the fore, come out from the background and be seen by the public. The other way is, the institutions. I mean, there is a natural ecosystem of music that's very lively in the institutions. And I know that the boys and the young ladies and gentlemen in the institutions play gigs at their schools and so on and so forth. That's another very good breeding ground for talent. So I think everybody has a part to play, whether it's the institution, whether it's parental encouragement, whether it's the local radio stations playing a good piece of local music. I think everybody forms part of the ecosystem.
And that's how actually most successful local bands in Singapore started out, through contests and gigs, and it's been that way since the 60s.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
You want to see my baby twist? He goes around like a disc, and when the music strikes a groove, you want to see my baby move. He's my mister, and I love him. Hey, Mr. Twister! And when he takes him to a
Popular bands such as the Crescendos started out as a three-piece male vocal group but later met their eventual lead singer Susan Lim in Radio Malaya Talentime, a successful program that showcased good singers and musicians. Besides making it big in Singapore, the Crescendos took Malaysia by storm by selling over 10,000 copies of their version of Mr. Twister. To give you some background about local music, here's a little history about it. The Singapore music scene in the past was actually a very lively one. The 60s produced some of the most successful local bands in Singapore like the Crescendos, The Quest, and Naomi and the Boys.
And masks.
Show me love, take me away into your world of dreams. That's where I'll stay.
The 70s had divas conquering the scene such as the Singapore entertainment icon Anita Sarawak.
Ain't got no troubles in my life, no foolish dreams to make me cry.
In the late 70s and early 80s, pure solid rock music entered the scene, such as bands like Sweet Charity. The band had such an influence on the Singapore and Malaysia music scene that it led to a rock explosion in the mid-80s. The 80s also saw the rise of Chinese pop music in Singapore, and it was known as the local Xinyao movement, where the Chinese pop industry was producing big hits. The 90s produced alternative and indie-influenced bands such as Concave Scream, Humpback Oak, and the band Kick, who made a strong wave in the pop scene with radio hits and a strong fan base.
Local music has seen various phases of its viability, shall we say. I think back in the 60s and 70s, there were some really great local bands. Somebody that I knew and worked with for a while, Peter Thomas, was part of Naomi and the Boys, So these were bands that people actually paid good money to watch them play. And really these bands could have a livelihood that was based on music. They could run businesses pretty successfully. There's this band called Speedway back in the 80s, and they actually ran a club. And they played at the club every night, and throngs of people would go and support them. And they did a mixture of their own songs as well as cover music. The other person who comes to mind, of course, was my fellow judge on Singapore Idol 1, Douglas Olivero, Dougie O, who played with the band for many, many years. And he was a very successful live performer. So yeah, local music has seen various transitions. There have been times when it was flourishing and people actually paid good money. But it seems to have sort of gone through a rather weak stage in the last few years, where local companies are not signing up the local acts. Local acts have to come out independently, and people are not buying their music. And I suppose, even watching them at gigs and whatever, it's probably been a little bit lumpy, a little bit up and down. So the support hasn't been terribly strong in the last few years.
We also went to ask another music professional who's been in the music industry for more than 28 years. Tan Chin Bu is passionate about jazz and pursues this interest by being part of the 50-member NUS jazz band, where he's the conductor. He was awarded a scholarship from then Singapore Broadcasting Corporation to pursue an honors degree in electronic music and commercial music arranging from Berklee College of Music, USA. Initially a self-taught percussionist, Chin Bu has performed in various capacities from music director to head of audio post in SBC. Chin Bu brings his wealth of knowledge and experience to FMS, where he heads the audio section and lectures in audio technology and productions, sound for picture and electronic music in the School of Film and Media Studies. Chin Bu was awarded the Teaching Award Academic in 2006.
In the 60s, because the choice are much smaller, because the band, and at that point a lot of music are live band, because then I think CD is not even available. So if you want to watch concert or you want to listen, you either buy a cassette or buy certain media and listen it to. And if you want to watch concert, it's not like today. American band will come in, so there will be more people visiting club event. Then I think it's in the 60s, there's a lot of clubs are very vibrant. Even in the nightclubs, there are good jazz band, there are good different type bands. So there's a lot of live scenes, or today there's very different in terms of scene. You find that even some very good clubs end up because they want to generate money, and now people not just wanted to be entertained, they want to entertain themselves, so they set up karaoke. Because then in the club you find that they are not engaging band, and today it's a lot of music are techno, electronically produced. It's not playable you use a live band, the sound is different. Because the bass is not playing by actual bass, it's played by synthi, played by electronic. The drum is electronic drums. So you come to a club, you say, hey, I want that. Even I know the song I can play, the sound will be different because it's not electronically produced. So you find that that's why today the challenges is a bit harder to satisfy the customer. So definitely in the 60s, there will be more violence, because I think the clubs are moving well, because there are more people going to that. And then you also have less entertainment, because either nowadays people can choose watching YouTube, stay at home, right? Back then, if you want entertainment, it will be clubs, patronized. So you get, actually it's more vibrant. So musicians get more job as compared to today. I mean, we have still some musicians surviving, but as I said, the clubs, some of them have changed the business because of the needs of the patrons.
Despite having a flourishing music scene in the past century, the local music industry started to decline in the late 90s and early 2000s. But ever since the mid-2000s, people in the industry have been trying to restore the liveliness of the local music scene.
I feel that there could be a resurgence, and I feel that there could be renewed interest for local music. But what's important is people have got to respect the local musicians, and they've got to like what they play. But on the other hand, the local musicians have got to play good stuff that appeals to the audience.
What exactly is local music? Some say it is music sung by local artists, while others feel that it is traditional music, Chinese, Peranakan, Malay, Indian music, that truly defines the culture of Singapore. Our team believes that local music compromises of those made and produced within Singapore and excludes those made overseas, even though the artist may have originated from Singapore. Why do we say that? In America, there are several artists who come from different parts of the world. Rihanna is from Barbados. She's an American, but her music was made in America, which makes her music local to the people of USA. But with the advent of globalization, the distinction between local and foreign music has been blurred. As a result, many local artists become successful and produce music overseas. Why is the industry not flourishing like in the past? Is it the change in people's tastes? Are there insufficient talents? Or is local music just not getting enough publicity? Our team believes the local music industry is not flourishing now because of a combination of the three factors. But the most important out of the three, lack of publicity. There have been efforts to get us listening, but clearly it has been insufficient. as Pop Hooray, MediaCorp's largest self-produced music show, promoted Singapore pop music by inviting famous Chinese singers like Joy Chua and JJ Lin to sing local songs. However, there was little impact after the series ended. There were also competitions held to scout for talent, but the lack of continuity in grooming has been appalling. Singapore Idol, a local reality television singing competition, has been criticized for its lack of talents. Take a look at our local talents like Hadi Mirza and Cesari Cezali, winners of 2006 and 2009. Where are they now? Florence told us earlier that there was an undisclosed local talent who could sing very well, and MediaCorp went all the way to produce a studio album with this talent, but the result was only 25 copies of the album sold through iTunes stores. Florence stated that publicity was done, but the dismal sales had MediaCorp thinking if it would be commercially viable to produce local music in the future. So what do you guys think? Thank you for watching our documentary. Hope you've learned a thing or two about the Singapore music industry. If you've got any questions or if you want to share your thoughts, you can always tweet us. Or you can just ask us right after the presentation. I'm Isabel, signing off. Bye!
Yeah.